So Bernie Sanders seems to be in bed with Big Pharma. RFK Jr. has got his HHS confirmation hearings this week, as early as we're hearing as tomorrow. Let's walk the viewers through what's happening here, and I want to get your take on this, Garland, because this is in the realm of what you've been talking about. We're talking about who doesn't want to take who doesn't want to have the conversation. That's what we're seeing here, and it's scary as we're counting down to this. What do they have in store for RFK Jr.? And already, I mean, this is NPR. Again, another news outlet that we thought used to be news. It's not. I mean, you could say hit or miss. You can do that, but in this case is absolutely miss. This came out today. This is 7 things about RFK Jr. you should know ahead of his Senate hearings. And this is again, so this is all propaganda. This is what they're telling us leading into this. So on Wednesday, RFK Jr. is set to appear before the Senate Finance Committee. So this is tomorrow. The first of 2 confirmation hearings as President Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. If confirmed, Kennedy would have sweeping control over a suite of 18 agencies, including the CDC and the FDA, the NIH, and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, let's see a briefing of the 7 things they want us to be aware of. And keep in mind, guys, you guys who've been following this, you know that the 7 things that they came up with at NPR are all designed to make us afraid of this man who wants to have a conversation about our health. Here we are. Oh, wait. Oh, here, one more, and then we'll get to this. Is the most important hearing of all of Trump's cabinet picks. As we know, we agree with that. This is the most important one. This is huge. This is the MAHA movement merging with the MAGAs because of food and big food, big pharma, doing something for the health of the American people, make America healthy again. The HHS secretary has enormous power over domestic health care, global health, and directly oversees tens of thousands of scientists, doctors, and nurses. So this is, to quote a guy, this is huge. Now let's look at the 7 things NPR wants to warn us about RFK Jr. Okay, 1. For decades, he's spread misinformation about childhood vaccines. Well, that's not true. He wants conversations. So let's just substitute the words conversations about childhood vaccines. 2, scientists worry.
Can I comment on?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, jump in.
That's just an assertion. Misinformation. They don't tell you what. We've seen times when people have said things that were absolutely true, and they've said that's misinformation. We've said, remember the whole business about what is it called when your immune system builds a resistance, natural
immunity.
Natural immunity, right? In the beginning of the whole thing, if you put something up, just a comment about natural, I put something up like, natural immunity, blah, 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 like a sentence on Facebook. They took it down and they marked it misinformation. Now, after a while, by the end of things, when Fauci was talking about natural immunity, they wouldn't take it down anymore. So misinformation can be, you can tell it can be absolutely true, and they can say it's misinformation, and 6 months later they can say it's not misinformation. So when they say he spread misinformation, it says absolutely nothing except he said things we don't like. For them, that could change.
So we have to interpret all 7 of these. There's what they're saying and then what they really are saying. So we know that they mean to say he's been trying to have conversations about childhood vaccines, which they don't want to have. Number 2, scientists worry he won't prepare the U.S. for the risk of the bird flu. Oh, the scientists worry that he won't be prepared for the money grab, the money-making machine of Big Pharma for bird flu. That's what they're saying, right, Garland?
Well, if I was the editor, I would reject that. I would send that article back to him and say, you just told me 7 things about RFK Jr. That's about scientists who are worried. Unnamed, unknown scientists. We don't know who they are, and they're worried. Well, perhaps they need therapy. Maybe they have anxiety attacks. That don't have a damn thing to do with RFK Jr. Well, scientists are worried that Garland Nixon might turn into a werewolf in the next full moon and tear everybody's guts out on the streets of Lower London. Get the hell out of here. How unprofessional is it to put some trash out there to say, we're going to write an article about Garland Nixon? Scientists worry that Garland may. See, this is the kind of trash. This is not journalism.
No.
An elementary school kid. When I was in 9th grade and they said, write a story about a bear, I would have understood that the story had to actually be about the bear.
Yeah. Not about what Johnny or Sally said about the bear, and I heard from so and so, and oh my
Yeah,
God, did
well,
you know that the
and
bear slept with? Yeah,
yeah,
right.
so what do we
Yeah,
know? Scientists are worried. Which scientists?
yeah,
Who? That he
yeah.
won't prepare the U.S. Now, here's what I love the caveats. Scientists are worried that he won't prepare us, not even for the bird flu, for the risk of the bird flu. Could you have enough caveats there? What a
It's
piece
so
of
bad.
trash. Where is their editor? Fire the editor. How can you let that sentence go through? Hey, we're worried he might prepare us for what? The risk of the bird flu.
So
Yeah, I don't think that's enough to to say, well, we certainly can't vote for that because there's some scientists, who the hell knows who, and they're worried that there could be a risk in the future. And if there is a risk, maybe he won't get out of here.
oh,
Trash. Garbage.
total garbage. I love this one because financial conflicts are raising eyebrows. Right, because Dr. Fauci, he didn't have any conflicts with financial conflicts or anyone else in the position of power with health, a health position for us. No, just RFK Jr. I wonder what his financial conflicts is, that he's not tied to Big Pharma like you guys are.
That,
He's not tied. Is that the conflict? Is that he's not playing ball with you? That's I don't know
yeah,
what they mean by that.
they left
Interesting.
out some words. His lack of financial conflicts
Yeah,
are
there it
raising
is.
eyebrows. That's the problem. I
There
mean,
it is.
like I didn't know this. We found out that like they have patents
Yeah.
for stuff at like the CDC and the NIH, and like they recommend that people take medication, and they're literally making $1 million off the medication that they're recommending that we take. And yet they're concerned about his financial conflicts. Well, I don't know. Maybe we can get Joe Biden to preemptively pardon him all the way back to 2015, like he did, or his entire family and Dr. Fauci, because we know they didn't do anything wrong. Well, there
Yeah.
we go. You know what? When they say he's got financial conflicts, Trump should say, "Well, I'm going to handle that. I'm going to give him a preemptive pardon all the way back to 2014." Will that serve to fix things, guys? Apparently, you don't have a problem with it in the past, so I'm sure that'll take care of number 3, preemptive pardon for 10 years.
There you go. Oh, and look at this. He wants number 4. He wants a major shakeup in scientific research. We can't have a shakeup with the data that you've been wrong about for the last, as we know, for at least the last 4 or 5 years. Everything's been wrong, but we don't want to shake that up. How are you guys getting the research? What about Rachel Maddow, who told us right to our faces that we have new data new scientific research in that says if you get this shot, you will not get COVID, you will not spread COVID, and we can finally get back to normal. That's still up on MSNBC's website. It's still on their YouTube channel. They have not redacted it. It's still there. So RFK wants a major shakeup in scientific research that led to that garbage reporting. Even if you want to say Rachel didn't know, she was just given the research. She was just reading it off the card. Okay, where did that research come from? Who's responsible for that? Those were lies. Those misinformed people. So he wants a shakeup. That should be a good thing, not a warning.
For instance, I don't know. I can think of some major shakeups in of scientific research that he opposes. Gain of function. He's been pretty clear with that. The gain of function that Fauci told the Congress wasn't happening under oath, that was actually happening. So could that be it? Hey, gain of function, we're going to make a new superbug that kills everybody. Wouldn't want to do that. Oh my God. He wants a major shakeup. He doesn't want to create the next superbug that's going to kill everybody. For God's sake. Yeah, I think, you know what? I tell you, I got to add something. Here's something that reminds me of. I'm watching this video of AOC, and she's talking about how the problem with Trump is that he is violating some of the norms. And I thought to myself, so you are the party of the norms? The norms have homeless people under every friggin' freeway overpass. The norms have people impoverished. The norms almost got us nuked by the Russians and the Chinese and every damn body else. You know, perhaps you should understand that the reason Trump won was because people voted for him that didn't vote for him before, or they stayed the hell home because they were sick of the norms. People want a major shakeup. A lot of people may not like Trump, but they didn't care. They just wanted somebody to come in the White House with a sledgehammer and start swinging it in all directions. So the idea that, the major shakeup, Well, man, people may challenge some of the norms. We couldn't have that.
No,
That's why we're able to do a show. That's why people watch our shows, because they're sick and tired of the norms. A major shakeup. How horrible would that be? We wouldn't want that, would we?
No, we
He
wouldn't
is
want.
the definition of a major shakeup.
Yeah. And what you're saying about the people that came together to vote for Trump because RFK Jr. was in place leads to number 5. This should be a good thing. This should be at least get them curious. His long-held abortion views are polar opposite of GOP. That should tell you something that the party was willing to embrace. The MAGAs were willing to embrace. It's not so much that Trump endorsed RFK Jr., it's that the MAGA crowd endorsed RFK Jr., or it's the crowd itself. I was going to say it wasn't that RFK Jr. endorsed them. It was that they endorsed him. They said, this is so important to us that we don't care about if we disagree on other things ideologically. This is that important, and we're willing to get behind you. Welcome. The party that's supposed to be the non-inclusive party is having their arms open like this, while the party that I was told was the inclusive party was like, get out and stay out, you SOB. So it completely reversed itself. They should really be interested in why this is like this. NPR should be looking at number 5 and saying, I wonder why they embraced him like they did.
How about this too? I remember when Obama picked Bill Gates as his like defense guy or whatever, and he was a Republican, and they said, "Oh, that's great." Hillary picked Tim Kaine as her vice president, who was anti-abortion, right? Mm-hmm. And when people said, "Hey, you know," some of the Democrats made some noise about that, and they used this term has often been used about the Lincoln administration: team of rivals. Remember that term? That was what they used to say about the Abraham Lincoln administration, because he had a bunch of people that he didn't agree with, and he says, "Hey, we get together and we work things out." Blah 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 blah. There's a lot more to it than that with Lincoln. You got to understand that he was holding a very fragile political coalition. One party had just collapsed. The Whigs had kind of collapsed. Then he had the Know Nothing Party. Then he had the, bottom line is this: his team of rivals is what he had to hold his fragile coalition together, and he did an unbelievable job of it. My point being, why is it okay for Hillary Clinton to pick Tim Kaine, who was anti-abortion, right? And you brag about it and say team of rivals. And at the time, I'm like, well, I hate both of their guts, but okay, who cares? You know what I mean? They're both a bunch of neoliberal warmongers as far as I'm concerned. But my point is, now it's a bad thing if a member of a particular party allies with somebody who they have disagreements with. We're not supposed to do that anymore. We're supposed to be a brainwashed cult, and we all agree on absolutely everything, no matter what. There's no disagreements here. That's called a cult.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a cult. And the fact that they're unwilling to see that the MAGAs literally opened their arms and said, come into our movement. We accept you. We don't care about our differences otherwise. This is that important. This issue is that important to us. And NPR can't even see that. Or we know they can see it. Their job is to make us not see it. That's why it's on this list of 7 warnings. Number 6, he won't accept, and this one is just, come on. He won't accept the fact that HIV causes AIDS. Okay, so what this is a reference to is the drug AZT,
yes,
which Dr. Fauci pushed on the AIDS community that was the LGBT community in the 80s. A lot we know up in San Francisco, we know that it was pushed on everyone as this is how you prevent yourself getting AIDS, and everyone that took AZT got AIDS once they figured out that if you didn't take this horrible drug, you could actually treat HIV and maybe prevent getting AIDS in other ways that were less profitable for Big Pharma. Then we had a problem. And there's a whole movie made about this called the Dallas Buyers Club,
yes,
where we're rooting for Matthew McConaughey, who's taking on the CDC, taking on literally Dr. Fauci is the bad guy in that movie. And we gave him Academy Award. I say we as in the people cheered that performance. We rooted for him during the movie. Why is it in real life that when we step outside of our movie theaters and our popcorn, we then don't cheer for the guy taking on the system? We're then on Fauci's side. So that's what this references to, Garland, as you know. Number 6, he won't accept. No, he challenged a drug that hurt people. That's what that is. And that's a great thing that he did that.
I've never seen anything or heard anything. And I have interviewed him on my show where he said anything that HIV doesn't cause him, that he's even, his thing is about the medications
Yes.
and the efficacy of the medications and the danger of the medications that are used to treat these things.
Yes.
I don't know. But, again, they don't care if it's true or false. When you look at the unprofessional nature of these claims, the juvenile writing, whoever the hell wrote them, whoever let him go through it, looks like some idiot wrote this stuff. If it weren't so evil, it would be laughable to read this crap, and that's, I'm supposed to look at that, and that's supposed to influence my decision.
Yeah, no, it
influences my decision to ever read anything from NPR again.
That's right. That's right. And the wording is so bad because it's their way of going, see, we're not saying that he said that HIV doesn't cause it. We're saying that he won't accept it. So we're leaving it to interpretation based on the things we don't like that he's saying when he's talking about drugs that hurt people, that were supposed to be treatment for HIV. They hurt people. That's what he's talking about. Well, we're going to pretend he means something else and he's not willing to accept the narrative. Well, that's what we're going to, number 6, what it should say is he's not willing to accept Big Pharma narrative when it comes to treatment for HIV and AIDS and what is effective, what isn't. That's what it should say. Let's look at the last one. I'm going to take the banner off here. He wants to focus on lifestyle and chronic disease, but hasn't detailed how. So concerning, Garland. I don't see a plan, so I just like to stick with the crappy one we have right now. That's if I'm reading this, I'm like, yeah, he doesn't have I'd like to stick with the thing that's not working. That makes sense.
Right. And, okay, well, let's start here. He wants to focus on lifestyle and chronic disease, right? Mm-hmm. All of your major diseases, there's some level of lifestyle that, can deal with it. I've known plenty of people that have had various diseases, and I know a lot of people that are into natural healing, and they've gone to their natural. I'll put it like this: I had overall healthy person, and I go out of my way to do natural healing and health and exercise. Okay, I had very bad back pain from car accidents. My doggone L4 and L5 are all mangled up, right? And I had bad pain, and the doctor said, "Look, just take it as long as you can and get surgery." So, I went to my herbal people and all that. And they said, "Garland, you got to cut out sugar." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Sugar causes inflammation." And so they did that, right? Okay. So I cut out sugar and they, gave me some other things. Then I went to a chiropractor. We did, all right, here's what you're going to do. And literally like twice a day, every day for 15 minutes, I take a big bag of frozen vegetables and put it on my back for 15 minutes twice a day to take down the inflammation, things like that, right? Things that you don't have to actually spend a lot of money. I bought one bag of frozen vegetables. I've been using it for 2 years, okay? But so the bottom line is this. So it was lifestyle. I have improved. Now, guess what happened? Within maybe 6 months after I started that regimen, I was back on the basketball court playing full court basketball with guys half my age, running up and down, jumping, getting smashed into walls, and on and went about my business, right? So the bottom line was lifestyle, chronic illness, all of that stuff can often be addressed in alternative ways. And when a lot of times modern medicine just says, go get surgery or take this. And there are other things, if we start focusing on, let me add this too. Most people don't have acute disease. They die. You get a heart attack, you're done, right? Oftentimes, maybe not. But oftentimes people have some long chronic heart problem. And like everybody I know at my age, you get your 50s, 60 in that age, you know what I mean? Something hurts, something bothers you, you got some problem. Once you hit your 40s or up around 50, you live with some chronic crap. Right. What's wrong with focusing on what most people are dealing with? Chronic disease, chronic pain, and changing their lifestyle to health. I have people that I grew up with, and they're like, "Wow, Garland, you still look good for your age." And I say, I don't say it, but I think it ain't an accident. You know what I mean? I'm not laying around, with my hand on the remote, sucking down beers all day and eating, filling my face with processed food. I do making an effort. I exercise. After this, I'm heading to the gym.
Yeah.
So I think what he's talking about, they try to make it look like that saying something that's good for people is bad.
Yeah.
Like he's some kind of a kook because he wants to talk about lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, I mean, we talk lifestyle. COVID was the big giveaway when we weren't told, and no public health official had the sense, or maybe they just forgot. Maybe it slipped their mind because it was such a hard job. I know, we all the lockdowns, nobody could do anything. Schools were shut down. Small businesses gone forever. Communities just locked down. The gyms were locked down. You couldn't go to the gym.
You couldn't go outside and get vitamin D from the sun.
They arrest people for surfing out in Venice. We go out to Venice. There's a basketball court that you want to go play basketball at. It's boarded up. The skateboard parks are filled with sand in the skate park. It's insane the amount of effort they put into not having us exercise, not having us outside, not having us getting our exercise and our just our well-being and our engagement with people, and just the stuff that we know is about good health and good nutrition and all this stuff. They didn't tell us about vitamin D. They didn't tell us about vitamin C or zinc. We don't even have to talk about ivermectin. That's another conversation, but just the basic stuff you could get over the counter very easily. They forgot to tell us. I wonder why. So that should have been the giveaway for everyone. By the way, here in LA, I got to make this point too, Garland. If you didn't figure it out at COVID, you certainly should be figuring it out by the LA fires, because the last thing they're not telling us now. They are not telling us to put on our masks. That's funny, because that's all you heard all day with COVID. Mask, 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 mask. 6 feet distant, 6 feet distant, mask, mask, mask. All of a sudden, we have these chemicals and horrible stuff in the air right now in LA. And if you go outside, you best put on an N95 mask. They won't tell you that. There's droves of people outside, good people out there trying to help people, fire victims right now. And not one of them has a mask on. I think it's insane. These are the people that followed the instructions of the CDC, followed the instructions of Fauci for 4 years. And it didn't cross their mind to maybe the air is bad right now. They're not wearing a mask. It's the craziest thing, Garland. I'm in the twilight zone yet again. And I know why. It's because they weren't given the instructions of what to do. And that's how you know our health agencies have not just failed us, they've deliberately sabotaged us.
And we already have an instance to reference from 9/11. All these people that went up there and they worked at where all these horrible things were burned, and so there's all of this dust all over the place with all this horrible stuff you're smelling, and all these people got terrible cancers. A lot of 9/11 people got all these young people, all this stuff, and they kind of admitted after a while, I guess they breathed a lot of bad stuff. Boom. So we already know that if you've got a fire with all these homes that were burned, all kind of chemicals, all kinds of plastics, you name it. So all of this stuff is now dust in the air. You're breathing that. Based on 9/11 alone, you and I would say, hey, I don't breathe that crap. Do you? No. And good and well, if you put on a mask, 20 minutes later, you're going to look, it's going to be all black around where you were breathing in. Well, all that crap is going to be there. That somebody else said, yes, it's asbestos and everything, but but we can't have RFK. We can't have him in charge of anything because he's concerned about lifestyle and long-term illnesses. Wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
There's no money in that.
There's no money in that. There's no money in health. There's only money in death.
If you just think, like I went to the doctor last week. And I'm not bragging. It is what it is. I have a lot of friends the same way in my age group, right, who are into healthy stuff. I went to the doctor. Tell me what medications you take. I said none. They're like, none. They said no. They're like, oh, that's great. And I thought, well, it didn't happen by accident. Maybe I'm fortunate in some ways, but in other ways, I do the things necessary to try to, as best I can, to address it. And if he says, let's deal with lifestyle, guess what? Maybe perhaps you'll have more people going to the doctor who are not taking any medications, and they really don't want to see that, right? Yeah. What happens now if some guy like me, I think I was 120/85. I'm 63 years old. I've never had high blood pressure, but when I go to the gym, I'll be sweating like a pig. right? What happens if you got a bunch of people 50 and 60 years old who are exercising and eating healthy, and now they don't all have diabetes, they don't all have high blood pressure, they don't, you know what I mean? And they're looking at some herbals, the juicing. I juice regularly. They're juicing carrots and they're juicing, whatever the hell they're juicing. And all of a sudden, you got people who don't need as many medications. Pfizer ain't gonna be happy about that. Yeah. So they don't want people to be healthy. There ain't no money in that. They want us all sick as possible, not quite dead. They want us to live really sick for a long time.
And I'll just have to end with this one because this is part of the story, Garland, and this hits home for me, and I'm assuming it probably does for you too, because we heard Bernie Sanders so much of his movement in 2016, primarily in the 2015-2016 era, this Our Revolution was about taking on these corporations. We're going to take on Big Pharma. We're going to take on, right, all the things we were going to take on. And he was the guy pushing for Medicare for all. He was the guy pushing for everybody having a right to health care and understood and he was articulate about that pharma was corrupt and was not looking out for our health. And he wanted to do that. And so we felt like he was going to champion this as an independent, using the Democratic Party as a mechanism to get this change to happen. Turns out the whole thing was a big scam, and it's really bad, Garland, really bad. If you don't know, if people watching don't know this, this is the Senate Democrats preview vaccine arguments ahead of RFK Jr.'s hearings, and Bernie Sanders is the one who assembles this room of scientists to talk about the benefits of vaccines. This is okay. So you got in Washington, this is by Rachel Korzeng, and this is Stat Politics section. When Senate Democrats huddled with prominent public health experts on Wednesday, this is tomorrow, to discuss the benefits of vaccines, it felt like they were preparing for battle. The senators peppered the experts with questions about ideas espoused by vaccine critics, the powers of the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and the best strategies to highlight the benefits of vaccines in the season that was broadcast publicly. Here's a clip of Bernie, and then you guys, when you're watching this, ask yourself, is this somebody who's actually trying to have a conversation about health? And why wasn't RFK Jr. in that room with the scientists so you could actually ask him directly what's going on? Well, we know the answer to that question because the people avoiding the conversation are the people who have something to hide. Bernie Sanders has something to hide.
It's a game changer. I just told.
Sorry, wrong clip. This is holy crap. That was mislabeled. My bad. That was Scott Ritter.
Your friend, my buddy.
Okay, I'm gonna preset that one again. My bad. Here we go. Bernie Sanders has something to hide. Here we go.
I mean, I think the point of what we're trying to do today is to make it clear that we potentially face a massive health hazard, maybe especially for our children. And I think the point that Senator Markey made a moment ago, what was it, back in 1900, 18% of kids never made it to 5. That's just an enormous reality that has to be addressed. So in other words, we have made, with all of the problems that we have today, and there are many, we have made enormous progress in public health and in saving children's lives. And what, in a sense, I am hearing from all of you is in danger, that we may revert back to those terrible days when so many children died at the age of 1 or 2 or 3.
And then, so this is the Kyle Becker's summary. Democrats like Bernie Sanders want you to believe that they are opposing RFK Jr.'s nomination on principle. Big Pharma money suggests they have millions of reasons to stop reform to America's medical system. The U.S. has a healthcare crisis. It's time to put a stop to it. Hashtag MAHA. And if you guys don't believe us about the money train, because always follow the money, this is Bernie Sanders. This is the top 20 recipients during the 2019-2020 presidential election period from pharma. Sanders is number one with $1.4 million. Bernie Sanders, number one, a far cry from the we're going to take on Big Pharma from 4 years earlier. Garland, what are you? Have you seen this? This guy talking like with that voice and I care. He's a complete fraud.
You know, in the early 90s, when Clinton wanted to do NAFTA and all that kind of stuff, right? Bernie took all the right positions. Oh, you're going to destroy. He predicted everything correctly. He talked about how bad it was. And he even predicted you're going to lose the unions, the Democratic Party. He took all the right positions, right? And then Clinton passed NAFTA along with, mostly Republicans and some Democrats, and he got it through. But next thing you know, 2 years later, Bernie's on the stump. We got to vote for Bill Clinton because the Republicans are right. So here's Bernie. He's going to take some good positions here and there. But when the machine says, Bernie, we want this, he's always on board. When it's time to say, we got to support Joe because he's a friend of mine. I've been friends with Joe for 30 years. As soon as it's like the guy's committing genocide. He's trying to friggin' start wars with everybody he's sanctioned in the world. He's a maniac. Yeah. And he's got blinking. These people are sociopaths, Bernie. No, we've got to support him because Trump something or other. So, Bernie's worthless. Bernie's worthless. Bernie, he's worse than worthless because in a way, he's the worst of them. He provides this phony, faux left-wing flank for the Democratic Party. So we can believe that somewhere in the Democratic Party, there's some lefties that are fighting for us. That's his job, to pretend like they're there fighting for us until they need him to do whatever evil deed they need to be done. Bernie's on board. And then after he does that, he'll jump right back across and say, we need to cut money from the Pentagon budget or something like that he knows isn't going to happen. I mean, I can't stand Bernie. I mean, he's the worst of them to me. Be who you are. If you're just a puppet for the machine, be a puppet for the machine. But do not try to pretend to me that you're some fighter for all things that are good and right. And then every time the machine needs you to stand up against RFK Jr. or to call Maduro a warmonger or whatever, whoever the machine points to, that country, when we want to overthrow them, they've got lots of oil. Bernie's going to be right there to say, yeah, the leader of that country's a dictator. I can't stand the guy.
No, and then we have this. This is an interesting. Yeah, we should go. Sanders also got cash from the arms dealers in 2020. So they're all the same. They're all the same. They all take the money from where they need to take it, and then they position themselves how they need to position it. But Bernie and the squad, these people are the worst of the worst because they pretend to be the empathetic ones. They pretend with their voice that they talk like this, and we care about the people. We're going to go out of our way and fight for women's rights and fight for workers' rights and fight for immigrant rights and fight for anti-war and you fight for healthcare. All these things. These are the reasons why I left the Democratic Party, was because it turned out you weren't fighting for any of those things. No. You just took money for those things. You took votes for those things. You got us to work for you for free. You got us to knock on doors. You got us to go around and champion your ideas and champion the color blue. And we did it for free. You didn't pay us. We paid you. What a scam that was. What a effing scam. And now you have the Mahas who have aligned, and we know this. We know when you look at the numbers, Trump won primarily because of the Mahas. These are the people that would have been behind Bernie if Bernie had won in 2016. They're people that were for get people taking on Big Pharma corruption and military industrial complex corruption. The Mahas followed RFK Jr. right over to the red team, and they voted for Trump because they said, RFK Jr. is our hope. He's going to do these things against big food, against Big Pharma, make America healthy again. If he doesn't make this confirmation this week, if RFK Jr. does not make it this week, this is going to be the biggest letdown of this entire presidency. That's my prediction, Garland. I see that there's going to be an uprising. I think the Mahas are not tied to MAGA the way MAGA was tied to MAGA. I think that they have no problem getting angry, getting very angry and very loud if he doesn't make it in. And Bernie Sanders will be a big reason why if he doesn't make it.
You make a good point, because just like I said about Lincoln, Trump has a fragile coalition. He has a strong base, the old MAGA people, and they are what they are, right? But he didn't win just because of them. You got a lot of black males. I know a lot of black folks that voted for Trump, and that was about economics. And let me tell you something. One of the groups that were the least vaccinated were black males. And what you heard, if you ask a lot of black men, you get votes. Oh, hell no. And you know what they'd always say? Dude, I heard a Tuskegee experiment. They had a history
Yes.
Right. And they're like, I don't trust the government. They ain't put nothing in me. I heard about the Tuskegee experiment. Nope, not happening. Total mistrust. Right. So a lot of them, there's a lot of black men, they, economics, the Tuskegee experiment, the whole COVID thing, they felt they got screwed there. Some lost their jobs, all kinds of stuff. So they were on board for the same reason. So Trump has a coalition, as I said about Lincoln. He's got a fragile coalition. That coalition could break apart. He could lose some parts of it. And he needs to, if he doesn't have the votes, he needs to go to the Republicans that don't vote and say, you better damn vote for this, or you're getting primaried, and I will come to your district, and I will come up with somebody to primary you myself. And I will come to your district, and I will direct all the money I can to them, and I will personally stump for them until you're gone. So either you vote for them, and anything that comes from you, I'm going to tell everybody else in the Senate, if you have a bill, if you have anything that has your name on it, it's dead when it hits my desk. So you have no power in the Senate. Anything you touch is radioactive when it comes to my desk, and I'll get you out of here. They don't have no choice if he comes down. And I've seen it done when I used to be up on Capitol Hill. I've seen it done before. So that's what Trump needs to do. I think him, and you know what's interesting, two people, and the two people that were both Democrats. I think Tulsi's important. I think Tulsi is very important. I got my issues with Tulsi about Israel. Fair enough, right? But when it comes to
RFK Jr., I mean, let's be clear.
Yeah, I got some, right, exactly. Look, I've got to, it is what it is, right? But there's a lot of things about Tulsi Gabbard when it comes to foreign policy that are non-traditional. And I want a non-traditional candidate. I'm sick of Mike Pompeo and John Bolton's. So those two people are non-traditional candidates. You're not going to get a candidate that you're completely thrilled with. But I want non-traditional candidates. And I think those are two extremely important candidates for Donald Trump.
I agree. And it's going to make a damn big difference if they, for any reason, that either of those two don't get in. There's going to be uproar. I wish the Democrats had it in them to be angry when Joe Biden lets them down or when Obama let them down. They don't have it in them. I do count on some of the Trump voters being angry when he gets things wrong. And that's good. That's a good thing. We want to see that. We want to see pushback because that's how politics is supposed to work. We're supposed to hold our elected officials accountable, particularly the ones we actually vote for. That's the thing that people miss on the left. They think that we have to protect your people. You're scoring a point for Trump. No, hold the people you elect accountable. You more than anyone have to do that because we gave you money, we gave you votes. You got to do this thing. So let's hope both of them get in there. I guess we're going to know later this week on RFK Jr. So this is a big deal. I'm edge of my seat on this one. So.
Yeah, it's very exciting to me. I'd love to see him get in because, that could be another thing that got me off KPFK. But when I remember when he, I think I violated all of their norms, but it's my nature. But I remember when nobody else would, few people would interview, and I would bring him on. I got a Pacifica show in DC also. I'd bring him on my shows. I'd interview him. I'd talk to him, what have you. I got heat. I got pushback. But I didn't care. I'm like, well, who cares? I've had this show for a lot of years. You can throw me off, but you're gonna have to throw me off for saying what I believe, right? So I think we need a discussion about medical issues in this country that is not just driven by the CEO of Pfizer. I think we need to change things so that the leadership of the National Institutes of Health and the CDC are not just a revolving door where they go from Pfizer and Merck or whatever into these positions and then back out and back in, and it's just a revolving door. We need to at least have a discussion about that. And I feel like if RFK Jr. comes in, that we may be able to do something different. I don't know for sure if we will, but at least there's a chance. I'd rather have a chance.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.